Now, it's been a while since RGB tube lights have hit the market. And if you know me for a while, you know that I love my RGB lights, especially the tube ones, and I have a bunch of them. But over time, they do start to seem very repetitive when you start comparing those lights side by side. Each of them have their kinks, each of them have their own unique characteristics, but overall, they all do about the same thing. However, there is another company called Vibesta. That's right, Vibesta. They're a company based out in the Netherlands, and they created the Paragos 60 tube light. Let's have a closer look. This 40-watt tube light packs a ton of features, especially when you just look at it cycle through the colors. You can see how smooth the cycle is. On top of that, it mixes different colors together, unlike other RGB tube lights where you can only display one color at a time. This one does it at 40 watts and multiple colors at once. It also comes in two different sizes. This one right here is the 2-foot size. Before we get into all the features, what do you get in the box? Well, you get a great carry-on case. It's padded with an inch thick of foam. When you open up the case, you'll be greeted with the charger, a battery pack, that's right, a swappable battery pack, and you will get the controller unit. This is a plug-and-play system, so if the battery dies, you can easily swap it out for another one. And we have our traditional accessories such as stand mounts, and we have a shoulder strap for the bag. Now, what makes this light very unique when it comes down to the build quality is that it has a metal frame. This is not only for the rigidity purpose, but it's also for heat dissipation. This is a 40-watt light, so it's not a light-powered light. It does have some power moving through it, so it does generate some heat, and you definitely feel it heat up after a period of time. Just simply touch the back and you'll know exactly what I mean. But not only is the metal frame meant for heat dissipation or rigidity purposes, but it's also meant so that you can hook up the mount that comes with this kit. This mount comes equipped with a 3/8" and a 1/4 20" adapter, allowing you to mount it to any light stand. Along with this, we also have a 1/4 20" mount on the bottom where the controller unit is. Now, this light is plug and play, as I mentioned earlier, so when you get it out of the case, you do have to hook up the controller unit and the battery. So all you have to do is just match up the connecting pins and lock them in place. Now, why is it designed like this? Well, it's actually IP66 rated, meaning that it's dustproof and you can even use it in rain. So this is a weatherproof light which can be used in many different ways, but you cannot submerge it into water, so make sure you be careful about that. The controller unit itself is equipped with an LCD display, giving you everything from the battery life to all of the effects and other controllable options. Now, one thing I do want to mention here is that the battery indicator that's actually on the LCD screen is completely different than the battery indicator that's on the battery itself. The battery itself is much more accurate to go off of, so when you press the test button, go off of that battery life. Vibesta gave this tube light a 20-hour battery life, but I don't think that's possible. They probably tested it at 0.1% dim. That's right, this light goes down to 0.1% dim, and that's probably when you get about 20 hours. At full brightness, I think you're gonna get about 3 to 4 hours of battery life. Now, if we go through the menu settings here, we can see our traditional special effects such as candlelight, firelight. We have our strobe options, paparazzi options, but unlike other tube lights, these effects are fully customizable, such as the speed, color, and you can even control the type of dim, going from linear to exponential. You will have equal increment options on the dim, or you can have it completely different when you get higher up on the level. So you have two different choices when it comes down to the dim, and that's very rare to see on a tube light like this. Another unique thing is that you can actually use the XY graph to select your perfect color. Unfortunately, there is no wireless app that works with this light unless you rig it up with another component from this company, which I don't have. So as of right now, I'm only using the controller that's built onto the light. In a moment, I'm gonna give you a live demonstration of how this would work when lighting up a subject and how bright it can actually get. Right here though, you can see that I'm shining this on a dark blue wall, and you can see for yourself how bright this thing can actually get at 40 watts of power. The wall is about 3 feet away, and you can see how well this light is performing. When it comes down to diffusion, well, this light does have built-in diffusion, and I'll show you how that looks like on my face in just a moment. Along with the effects that I mentioned earlier, we also have pre-programmed light filters. So you can, for example, set it to a hot pink color, or you can set it to a teal blue. It all depends on what you want. There's about 200 of these light filters that are pre-programmed into this light. We also have our standard hue, saturation, and intensity option, and our RGB option too. Over time, lights do begin to degrade, and they start losing their light quality. However, with this light, along with its green magenta shifter, you can actually calibrate the colors manually. So you never really have to worry about this light losing its quality. As long as you know how to properly calibrate it, you should be good. On top of that, it is firmware upgradable using a USB cable. And don't forget, we also get our custom color temperature modes, ranging from 2800 degree Kelvin all the way to 13,000 degree Kelvin. All right, so I had the Vibesta tube to the left of me. It's gonna act as my new key light. I'm using the dial on the back here to increase the brightness. My regular key light is turned off, and we're gonna see how bright this can get. My camera right now is set at ISO 250 at 2.8 aperture, and right now we're at 0.1% dim. Let's scroll up and let's see where we're at. Okay, we're about 1% right now. Let's keep going. And just notice how the light shines on my face. You can see how soft it actually is. And look what it does to my eyes. You can see that futuristic look that a lot of sci-fi movies have. Let me know what you think. I really do like the look of this light and what it can do to your talent when you light them up. And this is what you get when the light is at full brightness. It's about 1 foot away from me. And honestly, it's the brightest tube light that I own right now. It's 40 watts of power, so it's gonna give you a lot of that light that everyone craves. So if you are packing light for your shoot and you need an emergency key light, this thing can get the job done. Just make sure you find a way to control the light by using maybe foil or use some other material to help direct it onto your talent so that way it doesn't spill all around the room. Not one product goes without its flaws. And this product, as good as it may seem, definitely has a few kinks that it has to work out. Now, the first thing is the price. It's by far the most expensive tube light that I've used, especially for its size. But to a certain extent, it's not really a flaw because you can tell when you hold and use this light that it is made very well. It has a metal back frame, and actually the front is very durable, thick plastic. It's also much wider and it's more powerful than my other tube lights. Now to the parts that are not made so well, and that is the controller unit. It actually is made out of very thin plastic. And I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it's actually flexing when I press on it. So I hope that in future versions of this light they fix that. I also found it a little bit cumbersome when putting this light together because sometimes I don't know if the battery is locked into place or the controller unit is locked into place. I don't get a haptic feedback like a snap or something like that to know that this thing is all well put together. So it'd be nice to have that feature in a future version of this light. Also, the menu is pretty confusing, so it does take a little bit of time to get used to it. The buttons on the back really don't make sense. There is a menu button, a data button, and then 1 and 2. 1 and 2 are actually preset buttons, so that way you can access any light function quickly without having to dig through the menu. I appreciate that, but 1 and 2, it's kind of confusing for a beginner to use this light. Now for the data button, this is going to display you the firmware version, the runtime of the light, and so on. I don't think this should be its own button. It should be something that you can just press on through in the menu itself. So they could have put another button here instead. And the menu button is not only a menu button, but it's also a back button. So it's a little bit confusing at first to get a hold of, but the more you use it, the better you'll become. So just a few quirks right there. Also, I did notice that they spelled the word candle wrong, and that's not a big deal, but hopefully in a firmware upgrade, they will be able to fix that spelling issue. But besides that, this light is very well made. And also, one more thing, the battery indicator, I mentioned it earlier, completely different on the battery itself than in the menus, so that's something to really note there. But overall features, functionality, it's a phenomenal light. It does come with a hefty price tag, but for studios and for higher budget productions, this is definitely worth the money. So let me know what you guys think about this light in the comment section below. Link for it is in the description box, so make sure you check it out. I'll see you in another video. Peace.